Righto, so start the repairs. At the end of each crack, just drilled a hole so the crack doesn't go any further. And we'll be able to go along and buzz all these back up. Well, there we go. That stuff welded up. I haven't painted it with that 415 rust preventative paint. That's just some rattle tin paint, because it's a lot of work dealing with that stuff. So I'll wait till I got the rest of the tray sorted, and then I can just go along and paint it all in one go. So we're just getting back into the tray again on this old girl. So far I've made up some brackets. Didn't want to travel all the way into town to get some 3/4 bolts, so I just cut some booker rod up and that. Centralise that piece. I'm just going to get the old welder out and just spot that on there to hold it in place. Then I can get my G-clamps back, clamp that on, and I've got this piece here already cut to butt up against. I'll have to lift this one up and tack it on as well. Basically it's going to be a pretty low tray, but a majority of the time I'm burning around empty, so it's not going to worry me too much. And when I do have something heavy on there, well, I guess I'll just see how I go then. Could always later on down the track, if I do find it squats too much and the tray is going to hit on them tyres, can always just get some spacer blocks and lift it up that little bit, but we'll see how it goes. Yes, that's it so far. Everything is hot. Can hardly even touch that piece sitting out there. Anyway, so we're just getting back into the tray again on this old girl. So far I've made up some brackets. Didn't want to travel all the way into town to get some 3/4 bolts, so I just cut some booker rod up and that. Centralise that piece. I'm just going to get the old welder out and just spot that on there to hold it in place. Then I can get my G-clamps back, clamp that on, and I've got this piece here already cut to butt up against. I'll have to lift this one up and tack it on as well. Basically it's going to be a pretty low tray, but a majority of the time I'm burning around empty, so it's not going to worry me too much. And when I do have something heavy on there, well, I guess I'll just see how I go then. Could always later on down the track, if I do find it squats too much and the tray is going to hit on them tyres, can always just get some spacer blocks and lift it up that little bit, but we'll see how it goes. Yes, that's it so far. Everything is hot. Can hardly even touch that piece sitting out there. Anyway. Check. If you want to check if anything's square, just measure it crossways. So if we just run this to the edge there, it's about 29.82 roughly to that edge. For each. into this one, 29.83. That's good enough for me. I'm calling fluke on that one. But yes, as you can see, I've just got G-clamped some bits there to hold this. Basically, by putting the front one and the back one on, gives me a square surface. Well, once I have it square, which it is now, then I can go along and put the outer side pieces on. But then these cross ones, I can just go along, butt up, and I know I'm going to have a nice straight edge down. Basically, I've got a few more of these to make to go bolt in. If you're wondering why this is so wide, basically it's going to come along and then go in, and these are going to be my stack shields. Basically there's going to be a 4-inch pipe inside the 6-inch pipe where the stack will be, so if someone leans on it, they're not going to melt their friggin' hand off. And because it's not too bad, I'll just weld straight to it, and it'll actually be a structural piece of the car as well, of the tray. And then between that, because it's quite deep, 6 inches deep, there's going to be a toolbox that'll come up sort of X amount, and I'm going to store spare batteries in there for camping and everything. So, well, that's the plan. We'll see how it works. But yeah, slowly getting there. Righto, so pretty much same thing again. Bits on, measured from that edge to the far edge, and then cut me piece of steel, just with using me 45 on my square. Basically just hold it against it, slide it up, just run around it. So we'll see how she fits. So you could just a little bit off that front edge. Same thing on this side. And once we take that off, should bring it in closer. Sit that hard against that lip. Basically, this is what my checker plate floor is going to sit on. Just butt up against there and just leave a tiny little lip around the outside. And basically, it's only just a snug off that. So basically my checker plate floor is going to sit on here as well, and I'll just notch out around that stuff. So my floor should pretty well be flat, but it will have that slight little hump in it, as you can see by that where it seesaws on it. Just that little bit, but it's a work truck, it's not a show truck. So, and I'll just say that little bit of a dome is runoff when it rains. You know, it doesn't set water on there, it just runs off. Whoa, how's that for friggin' tricky? Even caught it. So as we can see, that's a much nicer fit all the way around. Nice, snug. yeah, so there we go. Obviously I'll have to grind that back because that's that thin, it'll just burn away anyway, so I'll just run the disc down that and then I can buzz it up. But yeah, she's starting to come together pretty well. Basically it's 2300 wide outside to outside, and then it'll probably end up being 2350. Yeah, 25 mil. I'll have a little flat bar that just comes out 25 and runs along either side for tie-off points, potentially, or I might have the rod that comes up along the rail, along the top edge. Haven't decided yet. But yeah, getting there. This is going to be the difficult bit when I come to picking those up and getting them in place. I've still got to notch them and put my bits of steel in. So if you can imagine, like the pipes, exhaust pipe's going to sit in there. So I'm going to cut little notches out, put flat bar in there, you know, the inch, yeah, an inch, and then weld it on the outside, smooth it off in 3 places, so about there and there, and then on the other side it'll have a bolt, so you can slip the stack in, nip that bolt up, and it presses against those 2 bits and holds it. So if you can imagine it, I'll use the other side so I don't blunten me chalk. There's me pipe. It's going to have a piece poking in, a piece poking in, and then me bolt. And then my exhaust stack, yeah, so when that tightens in on it, it should wedge it in place. But I might try and make that a cap screw or something, just so it's a bit neater and looks a little better. And then basically on the inside here, she's just going to be slotted, so I can slide all the way up. Yeah, that was probably just camera pointing at my crutch then, most likely for most of that. But anyway, you get the idea. So I got one of them welded in, the other one's just tacked in. The tail light housings, they're all welded up and buffed back. Yeah, so up the front here, just starting to make my corner pieces. Basically all I did to get that angle was I just sat the piece where I wanted it, roughly the gap, measured that distance, marked it, cut it. That just happened to be 10 mil. Obviously it does change the width of it a tad, but I'm not too worried about that tiny little difference. Yeah, and that's where that one's going to be the same thing again. Another piece underneath to hold it so it keeps it all straight. And then once I've got this side tacked on, I'll get the angle, be able to flip it over and mirror it on the other side. Basically need to hurry along and get it done, because I thought the Toowoomba swap meet was next weekend, but it's tomorrow. And as you can see, I have a bit of work to do. Well, I just dropped the GoPro, but it looks to be working, so anyway. So, I went out there, I made a cardboard template of my indicator shrouds, so marked it out on a bit of tin. Basically here's 2 of my lights, so one will go about there, on an angle, because that's the current trend and I am trendy. So now I'll just zap it out with the grinder, and then I might see if I can put a bead roll through the guts just to stiffen it up, so when I weld it in, it won't have that friggin' wobble to it. Voila! I'll just have to give it a little bit of a flex. Try and square it up a bit. Give it a little buff up and a clean up, and then it can go in there like the other one and mount some lights. Righto, so I've missed a little bit here, but the back part is done, and I bought a sheet and cut it to width, and I'm just marking out, well, I did mark out the notches. Basically just took a depth of when the sheet was sitting in place, put my square underneath till it butted up against it, marked it, took a depth, and then yeah, same both sides. This end, put a mark on the edge, and then just found just an old buck disc that was the same size, and just put there and marked around it. Hopefully that works anyway. But yeah, I'll fit this, get it all looking good, then I can take it off or move it forward, paint this back half, and I can pull the sheet back, plop it in place, and go around and tack it down in place. Wired the lights up, but unfortunately one of my new lights is already got a LEDs out, so I just pop the lights on. Yeah, hazards. So I need so as you can see on this one, LEDs out. Buggers. I'll message them and see what they'll do, but I just have to get another one, I don't know. So we've got a majority of it all done. Unfortunately I couldn't keep these evenly spaced because of that big hump in the fuel tank. So I figured most of the heavy items are going to sit up the front anyway, so a few braces closer together. Up here, still figuring out how I'm going to put those pipes and everything. So we'll leave that vacant, but we'll paint what we can for the time being. I'll just knock all those bits of surface rust back and it'll be the same stuff as last time. The good old Paul 15 rust paint. But this time I'm going to have me little condom finger gloves on, because if you get that shit on you, it takes forever to come off, like forever. Righto, so we'll get into it. Well, there we have it all painted up. All that section anyway. Got some big old bits of conveyor belt that my old man got from his work. Then they'll just be butted up against there, just drilled in, hanging down, probably a bit of chain up to the back. But anyway, that'll do for this part. I'll need to get a bit more checker plate and then figure out what I'm going to do with that headboard. Anyway, that'll be next time. Catches.